Okay, well, it is 7:03, and it looks like we have about 75 people joining us tonight. So welcome to Parent Quest. We are so happy to have our class of 2025. That sounds wild. Families here with us tonight. My name is Kenda Friend, and I'm your outgoing PTO president. And we have an all-star panel assembled for you tonight. So we will be introducing folks as we get to their part of the program. But we will, again, just thank you for being here, and we can head on to the next slide, Ms. Kluver. So this is our second ever Zoom Parent Quest. As you might guess, last year we had two. This year we thought it was just a good idea. You're muted, so do not worry about noisy dogs, teenagers, the delivery Chick-fil-A delivery person. We're good. So that is a beauty of this. Tonight, we definitely want to share a lot of information, but we also want to answer as many of your questions as we can. So that's what the chat function is all about. So all of our panelists are going to be looking at the chat, and we'll answer it in the moment, or we have time for general questions at the end. And so again, like I said, we had to use Zoom last year, and we realized everybody's busy. And so for meetings like this, to actually get 75 of us to drive to the school would have taken some effort, and nights are busy again. So we're just really glad to use this technology, but we very much want to see you in person. So we are excited about the school year coming, and we love seeing your kids in person. It has been a great week. So we'll just tell you a quick bit about the PTO. So they're on the next slide. So like I said, I'm Kenda Friend, outgoing PTO president, which means this is my second year in the role, and Jennifer Locke, wave Jen, here's Jen, my co-president, who is incoming, and we are really excited about the year ahead. It's following us on Facebook is a great way to get lots of information. In fact, that's where we've been posting things on Panther Quest the last couple of early mornings, and where we're sharing links for things. So again, follow us on social, and our amazing social corresponding secretary now has us linked to Instagram, like as of a couple hours ago. So we are trying to be, where the people are. So, and we also have an email that comes to us. So president@northcentralpto.com. If you have a question, a comment, an idea, or you just don't know where to start with something, give us a shout and just send us a note, and Jen and I will help you connect. We know North Central is kind of like a small city, right, with 4,000 kids and lots of faculty. So we are kind of here to help you navigate. And so speaking of helping you navigate, our next slide, and we know you can't read all these names and descriptions, but I know many of you coming from middle schools and some other schools, it can be kind of hard to get folks to serve on the PTO. Not at North Central. We have an amazing team. As you can see, all these smiling faces. We are fully staffed from the team that's running Panther Quest, or Panther Prep, the registration that's coming up. Our back to school breakfast is totally full in terms of sign up. So we are very excited about that, and just have a great team ready to work with you and work with what we do touches every single kid at North Central. So we are very excited to get to know you, our new families, and have you get to know us and how to be part of our amazing North Central Village. So with that, Jen, I'll turn it over to you.
Take myself off mute. So awesome. Thank you, Kenda. So really, maybe in the past, you've joined the PTO, you've made a donation, paid a membership fee. What we like to think of North Central is we're all really working together, and that every parent is part of the PTO. Whether you sign up or not, we just automatically include everybody, because it takes all parents and all teachers to work together to get our kids to be successful. So everybody is a general member, everybody is a general volunteer. You'll see different emails come out, a newsletter once a month with volunteer opportunities. And a lot of them are 1 to 2, maybe 3-hour commitments here and there. So if you have the opportunity to join us, we would be grateful. We also know that a lot of parents don't have time that is flexible, so we understand that as well. So the first thing the PTO is involved with are Panther Prep, and that's really that next week. It's the one day where your kids get their ID picture taken, which will also be their school picture. So they want to make sure they've got everything perfect for the day, their favorite shirt on. And that's where we really start the year with our Needs for Volunteers. And I'm ready for the next slide. Our theme for the year is There's No Place Like NC, a little take on the Wizard of Oz. We were all felt maybe we were in a different land last year with COVID, and we're really glad to be back at the building and with our teachers in person. Great thing about PTO at North Central is we don't sell anything. If you've been through the elementary schools, middle schools, there's no fundraiser. We just ask for donations. We found that that's most effective. So if you would like to do a donation, we do put our donations towards teacher grants. So when your teacher asks for an extra resource for the kids, maybe it's a different set of books if they're in a literature class, or maybe it's a subscription to something that the kids can do online. Those are often funded by the PTO. And just to make it convenient, we have the code up there. You can snap that with your phone and make your donations right to the PTO from your phone. So we really appreciate it. We get a lot of great support. So we thank everybody for their donations. And next slide. So PTO dates, you want to go ahead and write down in your calendar if you've got it, or take a picture of it. So education nights for PTO, we've got one on September 13th. That's back to school for the parents. You'll walk through your child's schedule, meet the teachers. It's a great night. March 14th in the spring is a Safe Decisions Week. Some of the things that I learned about just through these are the vaping. That was a couple years ago. And it's crazy. You probably know more than I do about vaping, how widespread it was. I know the school's done a lot to tap down on that. So those are great things to come to. And then Bagels with Brannigan. This is where Principal Brannigan opens up the floor, kind of gives his state of the school, and then also opens up for questions. So that's a great place to come, get to know some other parents, and have a conversation with Principal Brannigan. And then also in the evening, we'll do brownies with Brannigan, and those will be Zoom. So we'll have some in person in the school and some online, trying to make sure that we can reach as many parents as available at those times. So thank you. Next slide. Resources. So North Central, like Kenda said, is kind of a small city, and it's easy to get overwhelmed. And I was out greeting people this morning, passing out the yard signs, and I love seeing the freshmen come in because we've all been there. We've all been like, where do I start? So teachers, classroom teachers are a great place to start. Ms. Kluver had both my kids had her, so it's great to reach out and say, here's my concern, here's my question. And I have never had teachers get back with me as quickly as they do at North Central. Almost every time you're going to get an answer the same day, and if not, definitely within 24 hours. Check Skyward. If you have a question, that's a great place to start, and understand that sometimes your student may turn something in on Tuesday, but the teacher might put the grade in on Wednesday. So it may look like a zero, but just give it a little bit of lag time, talk to your student about it. That's a great place. You can also email teachers. If you have other questions, guidance counselors, every student will be assigned one guidance counselor. And the way that as I understand it now, those guidance counselors are following the kids through the 4 years. So they'll have a freshman group, and that will become the sophomore group next year. And then it will become the junior group. So they get to know their students a little better. The Learning Center is, I think, one of the best resources at North Central. You've probably heard about it. It's kind of a study hall with tutors. So it's open during the day. You can ask to go to during study hall. You do get a pass. And then Monday through Thursday after school. If you need help with chemistry, math, algebra, biology, writing, you want somebody to read your paper, all that's available for free at the Learning Center. The North Central website has more information than you probably ever thought of. One of my favorite things is that the announcements are there. So if you want to know what's going on every day, click on there, read the announcements. It gives you a great starting point to ask your freshmen, hey, what happened in the building today? Or I heard about this. It might be a way to start discussions and to find out kind of what's going on. Homework hotline is one thing that I have not used, but I do know it's available. And then attendance. So if your student is sick, it's best to call as soon as you can before 9. And what you'll need is their student ID number, and that is on their badge. So just jot that down in the notes on your phone, write it on the refrigerator, because if your student is not feeling well, the last thing that they want is for you to wake them up and ask them what their number is. So if you've got that, it's a great way to just put it in, whatever their number is, 555, name, why they're sick. And then also, if you need to make a doctor's appointment during the day, you would call this, get a pass for your student, and you can call that the day prior to, so that it's available in the morning or at lunchtime. Your student can pick up the pass and leave and come back to the building. So there you go. Now I'm going to let Emily Kaiser tell you a little bit about the Advancement Center and how that supports our schools as well.
Hi, everybody. Welcome tonight. My name is Emily Kaiser. I'm actually the Executive Director of the Advancement Center. And many of you are probably going, what is the Advancement Center? What does that mean? We are actually the foundation that serves public education within Washington Township. And many of you are probably scratching your heads going, I didn't even know there was a foundation that served public education in Washington Township. Well, we are not only one of the largest in all of Indiana, we are actually nationally recognized. We, this past year, supported education all across all 13 of our schools to the tune of about $515,000. Our largest support mechanism is grants, which we have awarded over $3.8 million since our inception to grants, with the bulk of that going to professional development, and then almost $1 million across all schools. And then our very own North Central High School receiving over $600,000 in grants. Everywhere from supporting kids going on special experiences like playing over, the orchestra playing over in Austria, to the Black History Club, going and visiting HBCUs, and a plethora of everything in between. In addition to that, we support things annually outside of that grants budget, such as Panther Quest, which is why they allow me to come and speak to you this evening. But programs like this would not be possible without a foundation. And so we think it's really important that our parents know that the support mechanism is here in our district, working hard every day to make sure that students and teachers are supported. So just knowing about us is one step. We also encourage you to become engaged with us. I did not have the foresight to put it on, to ask to be put on the slide, but you can visit and learn more about us at www.advancementcenterwts.org. And you can learn a lot about that. We have things specific to North Central. We manage about 34 endowments across the district. One of those being our very own North Central PTO. We have endowments for every PTO within the district that provides funding for those PTOs annually, every year in perpetuity, so that we make sure we have a robust mechanism for parents to be engaged in our schools and community. We also do things like support IB and AP testing through an endowment, as well as about $75,000 worth of scholarships to North Central seniors every year. So as you can see, there is a lot of value within our community and our community being engaged. It's part of what makes North Central and Washington Township so incredibly special. I can speak firsthand to that, as I have a son at North Central, and next year I will have a daughter at North Central as well. Not next year, like next year. But anyway, so thank you so much for allowing me to introduce you to the Advancement Center. It's very important that we understand that it doesn't just happen with tax dollars. It's very important to invest private funding into education as well. And we are here to help people do that, connect private dollars to public education. So please feel free to reach out to me if you ever have questions about our organization, and welcome everybody to North Central. You are in a very, very special place.
Thank you, Emily. And we have to give Emily a special shout out because she has been the PTO president for the last 2 years. So she and I had a very interesting year together last year, as you might guess, but again, kept the students and the staff laser focused on how we supported them. So Emily, thank you. And you can breathe easy this year because you just had to do one slide. So there we go. Well, a couple of things so I have a class of 21 alum now, and as well as a class of 22. So we'll introduce the All-Stars in a minute, but we all thought back to when we were in your seat. Your kid is, and this could be your first student at North Central, it could be your third or fourth, but again, there's just lots to know. And so there's some tips and tricks, we call these kind of our pro tips here that Jen and I wanted to share this evening. And again, also might spark some questions. And I think we have a question in the chat that we'll for sure get to. But number 10, kids just don't use their lockers. And I think the students can speak to that. They carry their backpacks with them. They find a favorite teacher and leave their tennis racket or whatever in that person's room. But just it's a really big school. And I think especially this year as construction gets going, it's just a fact. It's how they do that. Jen mentioned this pro tip, because she's a pro, that definitely have that student number handy because you'll need it. And I just kept ours on the bulletin board for the last 4 years. And that way, when you call your child in, that is how you report your child absent, or that's how you call them in for passes and those kinds of things. So again, just once they get that ID, write the number down and you are golden. When you're picking a kid up, and again, this is different than the middle schools and elementaries and others, you stay in the car. Let's say your kid has an orthodontist appointment at 10:30. They're going to be responsible. You've called in the pass. They're going to be responsible to go and pick up that pass and walk out the front door to you. So you don't park, you don't come in, you just sit there and your kiddo comes to you. Jen, do you want to talk about the drop-off zone? Because that's an exciting place.
Sorry, I had a lawnmower, so I had to mute it there. So a lot of you are already dropping off right there at door 1. It works very similar in the school year, but multiply it by about 100 or so. So you do come in from the east side, only one direction. Drop your kids off right there between near door 1, but anywhere along the sidewalk. I usually make mine get out. And there will be 2 lanes. So there'll be a lane right against the sidewalk, a middle lane that should be clear, and then a line against the parked cars. If once your child gets out, they can get out on the parked car side or the sidewalk side, walk across. You can then get into the middle lane, whichever lane you're in, and pull through to keep the cars moving. And one thing to note is when the buses leave North Central, they will hold all traffic. So when I had freshmen and no drivers, my goal was always to get the kids dropped off before they hold the buses, because that's when it really can get backed up on 86th Street and right there, because they will not let any cars move while the buses are exiting. And then that takes 2 or 3 minutes, but it does back it up. So just get the kids out and you'll be great.
There you go. And another pro tip is have your kid have their backpack in the back seat or at their feet, because if you have to stop and pop your trunk and dig around, then again, that kind of slows. Because I think at one point I heard a stat that 800 cars drop off of a morning. And again, that was pre-COVID. There might even be more now as people want to drive their kids to school. So anyway, those are some, and of course, watch out for our traffic officials. We have amazing staff who are wonderful, but just please, if you're in a hurry, just please don't be, right? Stay off your phone and just get your kid dropped off safe and keep our team safe. Speaking of teams, we have a spirit shop right by the cafeteria, and that's staffed by volunteers. So I know we could always use volunteers for that, but that's where your student can pick up a shirt that says Class of 25 and North Central Proud. And I'm kind of going through all my many years of North Central shirts I've bought there. So that's just something, or, to get a present for somebody. Going to the sports events and performances is just a great way to meet other families. And I think I've seen on Twitter that the athletic department has the all sports pass that you can buy on GoFan. So again, you're not going to have to remember that card anymore. You just have to sign up on GoFan. So again, there's lots of little things to learn, but going to the sporting events and the performances are just a great way to meet other people. One of our favorite things is the call we get all of us you're going to get a phone call every Sunday night at 6 p.m. And whatever number you have in Skyward is the number that's going to ring. So if you have several, like at our house, the house phone and 3 cell phones ring. It just happens. And Mr. Brannigan shares what's going on. And again, it's quick, right, friends? It's like it's 60 seconds. And he always ends with a really interesting quote. In fact, we were joking that some people, once you graduate, you don't get those calls anymore. And they kind of wanted to sign up just to hear what Mr. Brannigan had to say. So your kids are learning this, but you will as well. It's a big school, but it makes sense. If you can just think that A through G run parallel to 86th Street, and then H through N run north and south. Just kind of, you can think that those ways. You will, if you need to come to school, like to one of our PTO events that we have in the classroom on the H hall, that'll give you an idea. And there is no I hallway. And I don't know, do any of us know why that's the case? I don't know if we ever asked that. We had our history person speak at one of our meetings this year. But anyway, if someone says, go to the I hallway, they're pulling your leg. A couple more quick things before we get to our rock star students. I think a big thing for high school kids is they need to self-advocate, right? And again, it's one of those things where if your kid's having trouble in a class, and we know it's hard, we know it takes guts to be able to go up to the teacher and get some extra help, but I think you'll find that's really going to help your child have a great experience. And so, and if you need to help them self-advocate, that's great, but you'll, and again, our staff here can speak to that. You start with the teacher and then go to the department head. And then again, in rare occasions, go to the principal. But I've got to tell you, if the first thing you do is send an email to Mr. Brannigan, that's probably not going to help your cause, because he's going to say, have you talked to the teacher? So again, just ways to make a big school navigate. And then here is Sappy Mom, which my kids love to hear, is that it really does go fast. I really remember when this 6'2" kid here sitting next to me started his freshman year, and all of a sudden he's starting his senior year. And we're so happy that things like junior spec and prom and grad dance and blast off and all these things that make North Central really special are coming back. So I know the freshman year can be a little wonky, but just dive in and enjoy it. And with that, it's time for you to hear from our students. So the kids that are the students that are leading Panther Quest this week are Rayonce Rodney and Caden Friend. And so is Ray, Caden, can we see Ray? Where's she at?
She's in there. Yeah.
She's there. Okay, well, great. Well, you two, tell us how it's going and what's happening in the halls of North Central this week.
I guess I can start, and it's been really great. We've had some great energy with all the student facilitators. They've really been involved, and it's great to see how that energy kind of transfers over to the freshmen, because they're not so sure heading into this big school. Then you see them yelling at each other in a cheer battle. It's really encouraging to see these kids really get into it. So we've had great energy, great enthusiasm, and kind of speaks to the flexibility of all these kids. And like Panther Quest this year, it's changing every minute of every day. So it's been really impressive how we as the students and all the teachers participating, as well as all the freshmen, have been able to kind of change as the day goes on, as we're still figuring everything out while we're 2 days into it.
Rayonce, tell us a little bit about the structure of the day, kind of how that works. Once the kids get there, what happens next?
Yeah, so we have a whole schedule that we go through every single day. So usually we start with some morning announcements and cheers to get them comfortable and everything with what's going to be going on throughout the day. And then we have 3 sites throughout the day that kids learn about the rules at NC, extracurriculars, clubs, academics, all the information they need to get settled in for school and throughout the year to get involved. And we also have a really fun cheer battle in the middle of the day where kids get to go out into the outside parking lot and have a cheer battle and show all their enthusiasm that they have built up throughout the day. And then towards the end of the day, we have this big skit held on by upperclassmen. And it's just a fun little skit that they get to relax in and almost conclude the day. And we also have a new thing called the Amazing Race. And so it's basically the Amazing Race, and they go around the school and do these tasks. And I'd love to see the kids get so competitive with it and know which hallway they need to go into and like be able to solve the clues. It's one of the best feelings that like our day's paid off and they know what to do. They know what passes colors are and everything like that. Yeah.
So really important stuff. Caden and Rayonce, tell us a little bit about like the planning, because again, this is a student-led program and they do have amazing teachers helping them, but tell a little bit about the planning that you all have done to get to the amazing schedule.
Yeah, I mean, it's student-led, so we've got a bunch of students. It's like a collection of 40 kids from a school of 4,000. So we've really the past week, actually, we were doing prep days, getting to know each other, and it's really been a great environment for us to work together as we can get to know each other as students and then transfer that over to getting to know freshmen as incoming students into North Central. And Rayonce, if you have something else you can say, you can add.
Yeah, we also do leadership activities, so we bond more, we get more leadership roles, and so we know what to do when freshmen need help or in a specific situation, and it's very welcoming, and we know that they can come to advice with us if they need anything throughout the year.
Which is good. That's a cool thing. They really do get to, you know, talk to you guys all year long. And real quick before we transition, Riance and Caden, tell us about your activity. Like, what do you do? What are the other things you do at North Central besides Panther Quest?
Me personally, I'm in National Honor Society, Spanish Honor Society, various kind of random clubs, and I also play intramural basketball. So I think just in relation to Panther Quest, it's important to kind of communicate what all I've done to the kids so they know how many opportunities they have in North Central.
I do cross country and I also do track. And I'm also part of the Polar Panther Club, which is a running club. And I'm also part of the Panther Pack Club, which is a club where we collect supplies and give it to the homeless throughout the city. And I think that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Two very busy, great leaders here. So great. So now let's turn it over to our veteran Panther Quest coordinators, Mr. Vermillion and Ms. Kluver. Take it away.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome. Thank you so much for being here. So my name is Katie Kluver, and Chris and I are the faculty coordinators for Panther Quest. But to be honest, the students really run the show with your freshmen this week, and it's really fun for us to see them in that role and to be a mentor to them as they transition to high school. I'm going to just tell you a little bit about me and then answer a couple questions that I saw in the chat. So I teach math here at North Central, specifically geometry and honors pre-calculus. And then I also teach AVID. This year I will have freshmen for AVID. And then in addition to Panther Quest, I am also one of the National Honor Society advisors. And I'm going to start with a question in the chat that I have about school supplies. So we do not send home school supplies lists with the students over the summer. So what I usually just encourage freshmen to do is on the first day or the first couple of days of school to make sure that you have kind of just the staple items with you at all times. So that can be paper, folders, maybe a binder, some pens and pencils. And then when they get to class, their individual teachers will always tell them what additional information they might need to bring or supplies for their specific class. I usually tell my students to wait until the end of the first week to go out and buy supplies so that you are only making one trip to the store and you're not making multiple trips for things. I can tell you that for math, we require students to have a scientific calculator for all of the freshman classes that they might be taking. Anything that is algebra 2 or higher, they will need a graphing calculator for. We do let them rent a graphing calculator for $20 a semester if that's an expense that you can't purchase, because we know that those are very expensive. So we do have some graphing calculator rentals that we do, but that's really the major one for math. And then another thing that I just wanted to talk about is just from the teacher's perspective, and this was number 2 on the list of top 10 things that I just want to reiterate. When students are transitioning to high school, one of the main focuses that we have as teachers is trying to help build their confidence, their communication skills, taking responsibility for their learning. So I would really encourage you as a parent to make sure if your student is struggling or has any questions to always talk to the teacher first, to always utilize their office hours that they have before school or after school and get help from them as much as possible. It is so great that we do have the Learning Center available, but I would definitely recommend going to their teacher first if they can. And then obviously we can't stay after school every single day, which is why we're so thankful that the Learning Center is open on Mondays through Thursdays, so that if for some reason I'm only staying on Monday, but they have soccer practice and they can stay on Tuesday, then they can go to the Learning Center on that day instead. But definitely make sure that they have communication with their teacher, because that's the person that is with them every single day in the classroom that can help them the most. So as a teacher, I love it when students come and talk to me first. Obviously, I know that that's not the easiest thing for students to do, to ask questions and say, hey, I need help. But that's one thing that I would really like for them to be able to do. And then the second thing is we do give out planners for students. So please encourage your student to be writing in that planner. This is the first time that they're going to have maybe 6 or 7 classes in a day. It's a lot of different classes. They might have homework in every class for the first time. It's a lot of stuff to remember. So having them be organized by writing down things in their planner is very beneficial. And I will pass it along to Mr. Vermillion.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Chris Vermillion, the Social Studies Department Chair. This will be year 22 for me. But for this purposes tonight, this is year 20 with Panther Quest. And when I say that, it's hard to believe that I've been a part of this program for 2 decades. And when I tell the kids that, I think I get looks about how old I am. But I don't feel that old yet, so I guess that's all that matters, right? One of the things I wanted to talk about tonight is a kind of a teacher perspective like Katie did, but also the department chair perspective to help, especially you parents that are coming in brand new to North Central as a part of that. So, certainly when I talk to my own kids, I have a senior and a sophomore, I talk about the importance of starting strong and first impressions, right? I think all of us as parents talk to them about, the first day of school is not the day to be a knucklehead in class. It's a day to come in and get to know your teachers and to, show them that you're serious about doing well. Certainly I want them to be themselves, but my kids are very different, like your kids probably are. I have one that would have had note out ready to go, and another that probably would have been happy to be talking during the presentations. And so knowing your kids and just helping them prepare for that. And like Katie said, you're not going to come with specific supplies. Their schedules are too different for that. There is no list for a 9th grader because depending on what they're taking, it's very different. But I would add that one thing I've done with my own kids when they tell me at 9:30 at night, hey, I need this supply for tomorrow and I don't want to go out, is I just give them money because the bookstore has most everything at school that they're going to need. I would say 80 to 90% of their supply list is being sold in the morning and during lunch periods at the North Central bookstore across from the cafeteria. And while it may be true that if you go out to Walmart during the Super Saver back to school sale, it might be a little cheaper. For me, not driving out to Walmart at 9:30 at night is worth throwing them a little extra money and telling them to be responsible with their own stuff. So I would keep that in mind. You might be surprised how much the bookstore has, even the specifics you wouldn't think they would have, because a lot of teachers will ask them to carry certain things. And so when we actually used to have a photography class, I don't think we do anymore. I think it's gone all to digital, but they actually carried the film and then the supplies there because the teacher asked them if they would do that for them. So, they can always check there first during their lunch before you're actually going out to buy all that stuff for them. Now, my perspective as a former teacher of WAP, I get a lot of questions about AP World History. And I don't want this to all be about honors classes, so I'm going to make it about how do I make the right decision for my child's schedule when, we signed up last year and we're a little worried about how many classes they're taking and what they should be taking, and maybe they're worried or maybe you're worried, right? And so here's what I would say. We get a drop add period at the high school level where they get about 2.5 weeks to try the classes. And I would encourage them, especially if someone's worried about too many honors classes, give them a chance to try it first. Don't let them come home on the 3rd day of school and say, I failed my first quiz. I told you I wasn't supposed to be in this class, and they're trying to get you to drop already. I would reach out to the teacher if you have concerns, but I would also give them a little bit of time just to see how things are going. I can tell you from the department chair's perspective, if your child comes to me a week and a half in and says, I just can't do this AP World History thing, I'm probably going to reach out to the teacher and see what their perspective is. And I'm also going to check their current grade. And I can tell you when I can look at their previous middle school grades and they have an A currently in WAP, I'm probably not going to say yes to dropping unless we have a conversation as parents about something else going on. Because even though they can become overwhelmed with honors classes, in most cases, we're really pushing them to try it, to not get overwhelmed early. And I think I'm only speaking about WAP because I'm a social studies department chair, but this could be English 9X, it could be Chemistry X, it could be any number of freshman classes. The biggest thing I see is not an aptitude problem. Most of your kids, if they've signed up for honors, they probably have signed up because they've done well either at a private school or North Central Middle School. It's really usually about organization. As Katie said, in most cases they have 6 or 7 classes and they're used to block scheduling where they had 3 or 4. And now they may be coming home with little bits of homework from all of those. So it's more about how do I correctly budget my time? How do I not wait until the last minutes to do things? I taught with 2 other WAP teachers, and we all taught it a little bit differently, but we were getting similar scores. And so, some people like the way I taught it, some people like the way another teacher taught it, but the bottom line is we have great teachers at North Central High School, and I think sometimes we can get stuck in the race with our friends about which teacher they should have or which teacher they shouldn't have. I can personally say I believe in my staff, or I wouldn't put them in those classes, right? And so when you hear from another parent, you absolutely have to have this teacher, I would be cautious about that, because it could be that your child's learning style actually is better for a different teacher. And so I would just really communicate with the teacher. As was said earlier, if you have questions or concerns, communicate with the teacher and they'll get back to you very quickly. If you're hearing something like, I have 3 hours of homework a night, I can promise you that isn't true. It means that we're not budgeting our time correctly in something. A lot of our honors teachers will give 2 weeks worth of assignments at a time. And if they wait until the Sunday night before it's due, I know that our AP kids, probably Caden Rianza could talk about this. If they wait until the night before it's due, then yes, you could have 3 or 4 or 5 hours of homework. But our students that are most successful usually are the kids that are breaking it up and doing 30 minutes, 45 minutes a night as they're working towards getting it done. Did either one of you want to talk about that at all, Rianza or Caden? I'm sure you remember going through WAP and APUSH and those challenging classes.
Yeah, sure. I mean, for me personally, I just think it's really helpful to stay ahead of things and not let it get to that night before, like you mentioned, because teachers at North Central, I mean, they understand that you're getting work from all these different places, but it's also pretty fair. I mean, you get work that's not just due the next day. You get work that could be due the next day, but also a week from now or 2 weeks from now. Like, you have time. It just depends on if you're willing to put it in.
Thanks, Caden.
Yeah, especially as a student athlete, you need to definitely work on time management and not procrastinate to the night before. And if you do need help, like with any work, I definitely recommend that Learning Center if your kid needs it too.
Great, thank you guys. And so again, just to summarize, reach out to the teacher first and give them a chance to tell you what's going on. Maybe they'll send you a copy of the syllabus back and say, hey, I actually have given your student their work for the next 6 weeks already. So, here's something if you want to keep up with it with them, you can follow this at that point. And so again, that's what I would encourage as department chair. I'm always happy to talk through a concern that you have. That's my job. And so if you've talked to the teacher and you don't like the answer, then look up my address or any of the other department chairs' address and send us a message with your concern and we'll get back with you. So thanks for everyone for being on here tonight. I just saw we just went over 100 participants, which is awesome.
Excellent. So now we're going to come to some real experts, North Central's newest class of alumni. So we have Clayne Friend and Quentin Dean, who have graciously taken a break from their schedule to come talk with us tonight. And so again, we've always just found it really helpful to have somebody who truly has been there, done that, speak to parents, and if your kid's in the room with you. So Q and Clayne, if you each just want to say a little bit about your experience at North Central and kind of what you think, how do you have a good high school experience?
So I'd say for me, something that was just key was that when I started my freshman year, you just kind of go all in, just going, like getting to know the people around you, getting to participate in clubs, going to games, and just immersing yourself and seeing what works and what doesn't. Because maybe you'll find a club you love, maybe you'll find one that's like, this isn't for me. Just like getting into your rhythm of what works for you and finding a good way to manage your time around it, I'd say is the best way to use your time in North Central.
Yeah, also like going off what she said, like kind of just trusting yourself and being like, okay, like I know I like these certain things. And so rather than doing things you might not necessarily like certainly do things you're not used to, but if you know, like I'm more comfortable in this place, do that and see if you meet new people, see if you have fun, because if you can stick with something you already like, that'll be great. And also like having a good work life play balance is like key, because you don't want to be struggling to do your work because that's all you're doing, but you also don't want to be having fun and not doing your work ever. So especially like with the classes and with the amount of people you're going to be around and with the amount of opportunities you're going to have, making sure you find, okay, how do I manage all that is key for sure.
I'd say don't find friends and try something new. I'd say like my sophomore year, a couple of like you can talk about this too. Like some of our friends, we played intramural basketball for the first time, and I'd say that was probably the highlight of my sophomore year. Like just those late night games. I say late night; they were like 7 o'clock, but it was so fun and just getting to know everyone, and you just get to meet a lot of new people. And I'm not that good at basketball, but like it was so fun to get to know everyone, and our team won, so it worked out.
And you had really cool t-shirts.
We did. We were the chicken noodle hoopers.
Yep. Going off that, I would say it's definitely like nerve-wracking, or at least for me, at least like my freshman year, I was very scared and like, okay, where do I go from here? Like, what do I do now? Like, am I going to be good at this? Like, am I going to meet new people? Like, will I have friends? Will I be good at my schoolwork? And so fear and like being scared of certain things is definitely going to happen. But I would say like, don't let that prevent you, or you're the parents. So just make sure you tell your kids, like, don't let that prevent them from exploring things and being confident in themselves enough to have a good time. Because if you're just going to be scared the whole time and like worried, then you might get through it. But when you're at the end, you're going to be like, well, I wasted my time doing XYZ when I could have been doing something else.
And talk maybe a little bit about, again, we don't know what the next year is going to look like, but some of like daily life stuff. Like, do you guys remember how long did it take you to kind of learn your way around North Central?
So I was a little micromanaging. I wrote down my route from every single class in my notes. I went, okay, take a right on this hallway, then take a left here. I'm also bad at directions.
Jeez.
But I'd say even there, like it only took me a week. Like you get into a rhythm and you find people, they're like, oh, wait, this person from this class, they're walking close to my next class. And you find like people to walk with and ways to just identify it, I'd say.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of getting around, I wouldn't have anything else to add. Just like not, and like also ask questions. Like I would see, like using Panther Quest experience, I would see a freshman that I had and I'll be like, oh, like, hi, like we'd say hi. And then they'd be like, how do I get to this place? And I'll be like, okay, it's this hallway, whatever. So like ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask someone like who seems like they might be older than you for help, because they probably know what they're doing because they've been there for a while. So.
And don't be afraid to ask teachers either. Like my second day, I actually used my locker for the first like week and I couldn't open it. And I tried 3 times. I just couldn't get it. So a Spanish teacher walked over and helped me. So there's just, the teachers are always willing to help you out.
And before we let you two go, give us some special memories. Obviously, your senior year was not what we all had hoped it would be, but you guys still did some amazing things. Just share some, again, give these parents kind of the future look.
So both Q and I did show choir, which was really fun. But I'd say like going out on stage and rehearsing with everyone was probably some of the best memories I had at North Central. And junior spec, we were also in the same spec, so it all worked out there. And I'd say just getting opportunities to like hang out in groups and just make things happen was probably the best part I had in North Central.
Yeah. And like, I would say the big events certainly are memorable and like were really fun, but like things that I don't know, find enjoyment in like the little things, like fist bumping your friend in the hallway, like, or like saying hi to a teacher, having a conversation with somebody, or just like even the quiet times where you're by yourself, like, and you're able to look around and be like, I'm really at this place with 4,000 other kids who are all trying to do the same thing as me. Kind of like makes it less daunting because you're like, okay, we're all in the same position. And I don't know, I like the little things. So like Clayton said, like spec, show choir, those are amazing, but even like the day-to-day things are amazing too, if you look at it that way, which is helpful to look at it that way. So I would do that.
Amazing. Well, thank you two so much. And maybe we'll get them to hang around for a hot second to see if any of the questions in the Q&A are for students. Because again, they're the experts, right? They're the ones who have seen this movie. So we can go on to our let's see.
And for extracurriculars, it depends.
Over here,
because,
read the question.
So it says, are there school or extracurricular activities during fall and spring break? It depends. Like if you're playing a fall sport and you made varsity, then do not plan on going anywhere for fall break. Or same thing goes, like if you're on a varsity sport for spring break. But I will say that there's not usually like choir related or musical related things that happen during those times.
But you will get work over break.
Oh, you
depending
will.
on the break. If it's winter break, it's a new semester, so probably not. But like, don't let your kid expect to be doing nothing over break, because you'll have a little bit.
Always an English essay. Always.
Or reading. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, Jen, you want to cover a couple real quick dates just to get everybody, these are ones you really, really should write down.
Sure, some of these we've already talked about a little bit. Panther Prep is like a registration day, and it's kind of been whittled down as we've done more and more online. So that is coming up. That's next week, Wednesday, anytime 12 to 7. Have your student come in. They'll get their ID picture taken. My understanding now is schedules will not be available at this time, but they will be available on Skyward. Sometimes that's not until just a few days before school starts as they tighten up everything for all the students. But I think Mr. Vermillion mentioned that as long as your student knows where to go, homeroom, that's it. You'll get your new schedule there. 9th grade walkthrough or new student walkthrough. This is just a no formal program. Bring your student. It's a great way to walk the halls, find out where some of their classrooms are, look at their schedule on Skyward, and just get some of those nervous butterflies out of their stomach. Maybe they come with a friend, figure out where lunch is, that kind of thing. First day of school, it's right around the corner. Just a couple weeks away, Wednesday, August 4th. The first bell is at 7:14 a.m. And my kids, some of their favorite part of the day is getting there early and hanging out with their friends in the student center or somewhere throughout the school. So, you know, my kids never want to get there last minute. They want to get there early to hang out. And then classes start right at 7:20. So that will be just a few weeks away. And please join us for back to school night on Monday, August 16th at 6:30 p.m. It's quick. You'll walk your child's schedule. If you have a 2, maybe bring another adult and split up. But this is where you actually get to meet face-to-face with the teacher. Probably the only time you'll meet face-to-face all year. And some of those questions you ask, like teacher hours, you can find their office hours there, classroom expectations, where to find the syllabus, what they're going to post on Canvas, all that will be available on that back to school night. So please attend if you can. If you can't, reach out to the teacher, and I would say send a quick email. I can't attend, and they'll probably be able to email you some of the information if you would like that. So. And I think that's all on there. Panther Proud, I was out this morning and yesterday. We have some of these signs left over from another event. So if you'd like a sign, let me know. You can put it in the chat or come by tomorrow or Thursday for Panther Quest and grab a sign, and please put them up in your yard. Oh, thank you. Panther Prep starts at 7, not 6. Okay. We'll double check the time on Panther Prep.
Yeah, and
Okay.
be sure to, on our Facebook page, we'll be doing continual updates on timing and those kinds of things too. So.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, grab a sign, put it up in your yard. My neighbor put one up and she's like, wow, it's kind of like the official, like I've got somebody in high school now. So please come get them because we would love to have you show your Panther Pride. And I think there might be one more slide.
Yeah, so
Yes.
we'll use, just again, thank you for everyone who has chimed in questions, and we are, again, I think we've answered a lot of them here. Caden, can you pull up I also have Caden here for tech support for me. In terms of questions, again, we can't answer district-wide things, and we do know there is a school board meeting tomorrow night. So if you go to the MSDWT webpage, you can get the Zoom or go in person to that. But again, that's just a heads up on that. Let's see, other questions. Okay, problems with Skyward. Okay, for sure. Send us a note to our president at northcentralpto.com, and we can be sure that we get you to the right people. Bus information, I think there's a question on that. That's in Skyward. Did that get answered maybe? And also the transportation office can be helpful.
Yes.
So,
and I think if you're having problems with Skyward, you can go on the Washington Township website. And I know it's there somewhere because I locked myself out of my account and I was able to get a reset through there. So I would say check on the website, but also please feel free to email us and we can follow up with anything that you have now or that you think of in the next 2 or 3 days.
But yeah, I think there was a question about that 9th grade walkthrough, and that's also for new to the school students. So any kid who wants to, and again, quite honestly, we know many of our sophomores have not been in the building. And so that night on August 2nd, starting, I believe it's around 6, we'll confirm the time, but that's just where, again, you can be like my kid 4 years ago, where she wanted to just walk her path to be sure she knew how to get from H Hall down to wherever she had to go next.
Can I comment on that real quick also? So when it says no formal program, we will have Panther Quest students there in our bright colored pink or green shirts to help you get around the building. So especially if you're new to the building and you don't have an upperclassman to help, what's great about that night is you can kind of get the jitters out for your student who really wants to feel like they can walk around. Don't forget the bonus of construction going on. I don't know that we really talked about that tonight. The busiest hallways in the school, upper and lower D, are kind of boarded up at certain spots where they're doing construction. And so even for upperclassmen, they're going to have to kind of learn a little bit about getting around some different ways to get out of those zones. And so the question that I answered 3 or 4 times that I think is a really important one to a lot of parents in this one is about drop-off time. And I said in the past, it's been 6 a.m. that the doors were open. I don't know if they'll continue that exact time, but for the 20 years I've been doing it, it's been custodial goes around at 6 a.m. and opens the door. So if you really need to drop early, I'm an early bird. I do sometimes see students there that early, but I would say the majority of students get there around 7 o'clock as a part of that.
I am seeing one question on here. If you're not registered for Panther Quest, who should they contact?
So everybody is registered. It's just by your last name. And so, Katie, do you have that in front of you? If not, I can look it up. So we've already done A through D on Monday and E through J today. And if you've missed those, it's no problem at all. Just send your child on Wednesday or Thursday. It does not matter, even if you were supposed to go a different day.
Yeah, and technically tomorrow on Wednesday, if their last name is K through R, we would like for them to come, and Thursday is S through Z. But again, like Chris said, if they missed their date on Monday or Tuesday, or if they can't make their assigned date, please still send them on either Wednesday or Thursday this week.
Okay, and it looks like I maybe pulled last year's slide on one thing. So as we look at our bagels and brownies with Brannigan, it's like that Friday, February 11th. I think I got a wrong date there, but we will publicize these days continually, and I'll be sure to put it on the North Central Facebook page. So follow us there. So again, apologies, we're moving kind of quick on these slides, but yes, we'll be sure we will communicate. And also something I forgot to mention, as the PTO, we are able to send 1 email a month to the entire school. So during that first week of the month, you'll get a note from Jen and I that includes everything that's coming up, ways to volunteer. Again, in the PTO world, right? There's all kinds of things going on, but kind of the teacher and student support world that we live in. Like we, for example, do some fun things for the teachers around Valentine's Day and those kinds of things. But again, you'll get a note from us once a month that really makes sure you stay in the loop on everything.
There's a question about lunches, and gosh, it's been so long since I've been in there to add money to my students' account. There is an account that you can add money to. I believe you can find it on the North Central website. It might even be available on the Washington Township website, that you can put money in by credit card or through your banking account. And I'm not sure if they're taking cash because of COVID. So, and I'm sorry, Paul, I don't remember the exact name of that, but
I think, Jen, also be sure and ask at registration, because of the pandemic, last year school lunch was free for everybody. And I think the USDA is covering some of lunch again. So that's a really good question that we need to, I'm making a note here, we need to post an answer on once we have that. And a lot of kids pack their lunches, which is, school lunch is free. Okay, our answer is in. So there we have it. You heard it here first. I knew that that's, again, remember, we're kind of getting back to our world. Okay, so a la carte is extra, it looks like, on lunches. So again, we'll learn together, but the good news is no kid ever goes hungry, ever. And so with school lunch being free this year, be sure your kid eats lunch. it'll make them happier in the afternoon for sure. We've got a few more minutes. See if there's any other open questions.
I just wanted to say, if you haven't had a chance yet, if you go to the Q&A tab and you look at answered, there's a lot of really good questions that have been asked that as a parent knew you would probably want to just take a look at before you get out of here.
So scroll through those for sure. But we are just delighted that we had over 100 of our class of 25 parents here with us tonight, which is just amazing. And we're having, I have to tell a quick story before we go. So this morning, as Jen and I and parent volunteers are checking in kids, this young man came in and he was a little bit after the rest of the kids had gotten there, and he walked in the front door of the school and I held it open for him, and his eyes got about this big, and he walked into the lobby and said, "Wow." And I said, "Oh," and his young man, I said, "Have you been to North Central before?" He said, "No, and nobody in my family has ever been here. Can I take a picture? This is amazing." So again, those are the kind of moments that we're like, yeah, this, and then he even gave me a hug as he was going down to his group. He was just so excited to be there. So North Central is a very, very special place thanks to your amazing kids and all these many amazing families.
I do have one thing that I totally forgot to mention, Chromebooks. So students students are getting their Chromebooks. If they're coming to Panther Quest, we're actually giving it to them at the end of the day to help with the overflow that might happen at registration. So they do need those for class still every single day. There might be teachers that have, because of COVID, transitioned some of their structure over to the Chromebook. There are a lot of really cool features that we were able to utilize last year that we might still be using this year. They all have a stylus on their Chromebooks, their touch screen. So it's really important that they do bring them every single day and that they charge them the night before to make sure they are fully charged. I have a feeling that we'll still need to keep students somewhat distanced, so they might not always be near an outlet during a class. So to make sure they have their charger with them and that they start the day with a fully charged Chromebook is very important as well. I totally forgot to mention that in my school supply, so I wanted to make sure that was said.
Looks like there's a couple of Chromebook questions. So Katie and Chris, if you want to look at those, I will. In terms of PTO donations, again, whatever feels right for your family, $10 a kid, we've said that in the past, but again, we've had families that are able to give more, give whatever. It just really, every dollar that you give goes directly to supporting our students and our teachers. It really, that's the beauty of being in a big school together. We can do a lot. So it's been a really good experience. Looks like Mr. Vermillion is answering the marching band question and some Chromebook questions. We will see what else we've got here. We've got we're right at the top of the hour. So I'll let typing those answers finish here. And again, we will be posting this.
A quick pickup. So pickup is very similar to drop off. Get in, they'll do the 2 lines, you park, and I think 2:35-ish is the bell. I'm not exactly sure. Yeah. So it's pretty, and then your kids will just walk out of door 1 or whatever that other door is on the north side of the school for now, and until construction starts. And
so it is, people do start lining. I'm amazed if you drive by North Central at 10 o'clock, 10 after 2 in the afternoon. If a parent, again, if you're out running errands, you want to pick your kid up, just know that you're going to be sitting parked in those 2 lanes. And our amazing traffic folks are there to guide you. And your kid just has to walk out of the school and see your car. So I would say, while you're waiting and parked, you can be peeking at your phone. But once cars start moving, please pay attention, because again, it's a well-oiled machine.
Classes are pre-assigned and they are able to pick electives depending on what year they are. They'll be open to certain electives that they can take. Some things are for upperclassmen only, or if you take a lower level, you can take the advanced.
Great questions. Thank you for your engagement, class of 25.
Oh, and then one tip If you are doing pickup, just sit in your car. Your child will eventually find you. Do not get out of your car and wave at them. I can guarantee you that no one will appreciate it.
It is our job to embarrass our children, but not in pickup line.
Yeah, not on the first day, maybe the
On the
second.
first day. So great. Well, we're at 8 o'clock. We want to respect everybody's schedules, but huge thank you to Rianse and Caden and Quentin and Clayne, who's already taken off, and of course to our amazing teachers. And we're just so excited about this year, and just know that you are part of us. We are the big North Central family, and it's going to be just an amazing year. And like Jen and I like to say, there's no place like NC.
And we're so glad you can be a part of it this year. Thanks for attending.
Thanks, everybody.